The following is a production of Jefferson Pilot Sports.
The Birmingham Speedway is the latest challenge for the Hooters Cup Series. Hello, everybody. Mark Allen and Bill Hennessy. Happy that you've joined us for round 4 of the series. And last night they were in Huntsville, Alabama, a slam-bang affair that Daniel Keene won. And I'll tell you what, Bill, there are some drivers that had some real work to do to get their cars ready to race tonight.
You can imagine the effort that was put in this morning by FedEx and UPS trying to bring some parts in on airplanes to get some of these cars fixed. The guys that finished 1, 2, 3 last night, though, they're ready to go racing tonight.
Well, a number of these races have been won from the pole position, been very successful for some drivers, and Stephanie Boyd has caught up with the man who may have the best shot to do it tonight.
Well, actually, Mark and Bill, there are 2 fast qualifiers. Now, see if you can follow me on this one. Mike Harmon and Mike Garvey were the 2 fastest qualifiers, but they were disqualified after they failed to pass the post-tech inspection. The next fastest qualifiers were Bobby Gill and Dick Anderson, who joined me here. They ran identical speeds, and they drew the number 1 and the number 2 pill. So I got to ask you, Bobby Gill, you know Dick Anderson's as fast as you are. What's it going to take to stay ahead of him?
Well, you know, we both got the same car builder, Frankie Grilli. Builds an excellent car, and I mean, we're pretty close, you know. It's just going to be whoever gets to the corner and gets out first. And me and Dick been racing a long time, and we're going to come here and try to race clean and put on a good show for everybody.
Now, Dick Anderson, I know you tested a lot here before this race. Is that going to give you any kind of an advantage going in?
Well, I tested for a couple hours, but it definitely helped me because I've only raced here, I think, once in the past 10 years. But I'm pretty comfortable, and I'm comfortable starting outside of Bobby. We've raced a lot together, and he's a good professional racer just like myself. So I anticipate me and him kind of pulling away from the field and putting on a good show for the fans.
And I tell you what, Bobby Gill said the same thing to me right before the show, so expect to see a good one between these 2 guys.
I think there are a number of other drivers that will have something to say about that as well, as $5,000 is sitting out there for tonight's race winner with pretty good payouts all the way through the top 5.
Certainly one of the most hotly contested series touring the nation right now. Fastest qualifier picks up bonus along with halfway leader and top rookie getting $250 each.
Now, here are the point standings coming into this event. Daniel Keene coming off his victory the night before in Huntsville, Alabama, is atop. Then it's Shelnut, Garvey, Goslin, and Jimmy Cope.
Hooters Cup Fund, the point money really big, $101,750. Mark, can you imagine $25,000 going to the season victor at the end of the chase?
Oh, I can imagine it, and a number of drivers can too, but before they can get toward that, they have to get through this race. Back with more in a minute.
The Hooters Racing Series is brought to you by Hooters, delightfully tacky yet unrefined. By Jackaroo Barbecue Sauce, the big, bold taste from down under. By naturally fresh salad dressings, pour on the freshness. And by Goodyear, #1 in racing, #1 in tires.
Start your engines.
And 32 8-cylinder fire-breathing motors roar to life for 100 laps around this Birmingham racetrack. An excellent crowd in the grandstands for round number 4 of the Hooters Series in perfect weather, Bill.
Beautiful night, 72 degrees, humidity 40%, chance of rain 0. Big racetrack, we're going to see a great race.
There's a look at the main grandstand, and they're going to get a real treat when they see these competitors tour the 5/8 mile oval with 10-degree banking, and the straightaways just 500 feet. And this is the first racetrack we've seen with no banking on the straightaways. That means big turns, Bill.
While the straightaways are fairly short at 500 feet, the turns are immense. 1,200 feet from the entrance to the exit. Drivers are really going to have the opportunity to put their foot down against the firewall and carry a lot of speed.
So horsepower will indeed be a factor in this contest. Bobby Gill will be the man starting on the pole in his Emerald Coast sponsored entry. Next to him will be Dick Anderson, a Florida campaigner with a lot of success in his Mopar Performance Dodge.
Going to the second row, third on the grid, is Daniel Keene, last night's winner at Huntsville, Alabama, the Keene Brothers Trucking entry. And flanking him on the outside of the second row is Ronnie Sanders, the Georgia driver here in the Sherwoods entry. Always a strong runner. Let's see what he can do here tonight.
On the inside of row number 3, it's Mr. All-Pro Jody Ridley in the Fiber 1 Ford. Starting outside of him will be Wayne Niedecken from Pensacola, Florida, in the Sam's Seafood Restaurant sponsored entry.
Moving now to row 4, John Crow, who has been advancing through the field at each one of the races. Looks like he may have a strong run tonight. Tony Walls at the outside of row 4. Walls Tire and Accessories entry. Tony looking for a good finish in the Hooters Cup.
Starting 9th on the field will be Mario Goslin in the Young Oil entry. He has also been very consistent so far through the 95 campaign. And next to him, Steve Christian from Norcross, Georgia, in the Norcross Auto and Truck sponsored car.
Taking a look at the rest of the field. Row 6, Darrell Shell, another former winner, flanked by Gary Jones out of Georgia.
Mike McCrary on row number 7, along with Derek Kelly. Sitting on the 8th row as we get set to go for 100 laps around the racetrack will be another rookie contender, Jeff Perquette. And next to him will be Nevin Jenkins. On row number 9 is Randy Fox, very quietly marching his way through the points. Next to him on the outside of row number 9 will be Jerry Simons.
Moving to row 10 is Jimmy Cope in the 15 car, flanked by Steve Cook, a local racer. Row 11 is Ricky Sanders, another one of the Georgia drivers, and 48B, Sonny Velez. Now, Velez hasn't had a very good run in any of the Hooters races so far. Tonight could be the night that he could advance through the field.
Jesse Lucio also looking for a good run tonight, starting on the inside of row number 12. Next to him will be Eddie King. On the 13th row, it's Tracy Goodson, who made his first appearance Huntsville, Alabama, the night before, and also Lonnie Vaughn on the outside of row 13.
Row 14, the 77 car, Tuffy Hester, flanked by Sidney Mitten in the 69. Row 15, he had to go to the back of the field after a rules infraction. Mike Harmon, local driver. Keep an eye on him along with Mike Garvey.
Now, Darrell Brown and Larry Raines, provisional starters for the contest, and on row number 17 will be Bert Belter. There's a look at the drivers who will get set to go in just a moment as Tony Boswell has got the field formed up. He likes what he sees, and the green flag is out, underway on round number 5 of the Hooters Cup Series. And Bobby Gill has taken the early advantage with Dick Anderson sitting in the second spot. And this could be trouble for an awful lot of drivers further back in the field. With the two of these veterans up front, they both know how to win on short tracks all over the Southeast.
Mark, take in mind, we've already have a caution. And we got the early going here, lap 2.
And that is Bert Belter, who started shotgun on the field. He has definitely turned the wrong way coming off turn number 4 to bring out our first yellow. We do not see any other cars in jeopardy on the racetrack, so it appears to have been a single-car incident. Yeah, somebody got loose in front of Bert there at the back of the field, and he did all he could to try to stay out of the way of that.
Bert stood on the brakes right there as they were coming up to speed, and the car got out from under him. Fortunately, he did not hit the other car squarely in the rear end. Otherwise, he would have damaged his car. He's fallen back on the rear end of the field now. A lot of cars are here, but this is a big racetrack, Mark. I believe that there's going to be some type of advantage for any driver here because the traffic will not be as difficult to work as it would be like on the track we saw at Huntsville last night, which was only a quarter of a mile.
Quick caution, and we're back to green, and quickly up through the gearbox. Gill to pull off to a couple of car length advantage over Dick Anderson in that Mopar Dodge. Anderson has done very well so far this year, except for a blown engine in the season opener. Huntsville, Alabama last night, though, a tough break for him while he was leading the race.
Sure was. Cut down a tire, found himself having to go to the pits. He was in position to win that thing. That Dodge has yet to go to victory lane this year.
And a caution's back out on the track once again on lap number 7. It's out for the second time, and we've got some trouble up in the fence in turn 2. Ricky Sanders has come to grief. Looks like a pretty good lick into that outside fence there, and that will certainly keep us under caution here for a few moments. I believe another car was involved. Look at that crumpled hood, Bill, there. That's definitely evidence of a pretty good hit.
Well, a lot of folks think these cars are metal bodies. These cars are fiberglass, and so they'll flex around like that and pick up a lot of curvatures that you wouldn't normally see. Sonny Velez into the pits and back out.
But Gill remains at the front of the field, and if this becomes a caution fest, this being in front is going to really be very significant because there'll be no heat buildup in the tires. And some of those drivers who may have been trying to get themselves set up, Bill, for long green flag runs could get themselves into some trouble.
Short sprint races doesn't make for a long run on green where you can advance through the field. Bobby Gill, the leader, Dick Anderson riding in second at the present time. 9 of 100 laps have been completed.
Now, Sonny Velez has had some repair work done to the front of his entry. The right front air dam looks like it's been removed. And our Stephanie Boyd is in the pits with his crew chief to talk about some of the problems that he has faced in the early going. Velez, as we mentioned moments ago, not having a great season so far. Stephanie, what's the story?
What happened on Sonny's car?
Just Sanders lost it going into 3, and I guess Sonny locked the brakes up going into the corner and got into it. Messed up the right side of the car a little bit. Mainly just cosmetic, nothing major. He'll be all right.
The cosmetics are fiberglass. It can be easily repaired by carrying an extra fender or quarter panel with you. Take a pop rivet gun, drill some new holes, and replace the entire panel. Ricky Sanders happens to be down with Stephanie Boyd following his problems.
Everybody tells me this track is treacherous. Is that the problem out there tonight? Is that what got you turned around?
Yeah, there's not a lot of room here. It's a pretty narrow track. So once two cars get together, it's usually a few more involved.
Obviously, it looks terminal. Is that the case?
Yeah. Thank you.
Sanders not one to waste words, and what are you expecting to say? A tough break. He's out a lot quicker than he wanted to be. We'll be back in a moment. And your timing is just right as we're ready to go back to racing here in round number 4 of the Hooters Cup Series. I said round 5 before. It's so much fun. I think we're running 2 races in one sometimes, as the green flag is now back out on the speedway. And once again, Bobby Gill looks like he's geared just a little bit differently than Dick Anderson there. He's getting a little quicker jumps on every one of the starts so far, Bill.
Gill is dialed in every degree here at Birmingham. As he moves out of the 4th quarter, he has the advantage over the Dodge. Usually the Dodge is right there on his heels if it's running at all, but Daniel Keene's having a good run tonight. He's racing in 3rd at the present time. And a little further back in the field, there is a big field of cars here.
Now, this is a different racetrack than what they saw last night in Huntsville, Alabama. That was a high-banked quarter-mile speedway. This is a 5/8 mile, much shallower banked racetrack, and there are multiple grooves here. It was very difficult to pass in Huntsville last night, and there were a number of incidents. Now, Jody Ridley made his first appearance in the Hooters Cup Series in that event in Huntsville, Alabama, and we'll be talking about him throughout the telecast as John Crow is giving chase to him. Now, the 81 car is Tony Walls. He was involved in a big crash in Huntsville, and they had to work all night to get that car ready to race again. Ridley making his 2nd straight appearance in the series. He had to take a provisional last night to give you an idea of just how competitive this Hooters Cup Series is.
This is super competitive. It's not easy. The best in the nation are racing in the Hooters Cup.
And John Crow, rookie contender, is content to be sitting right back there in the 2nd spot for a moment, as Ridley doesn't always qualify real well, but almost always ends up front before the end of the race. Now, he talked with us a little bit before the race about the differences in what he has to do between Huntsville and here in Birmingham tonight.
You just got to take care of tires a little more here than you did last night. You run out pretty quick. This is pretty abrasive racetrack, and last night you couldn't wear a tire out, but here you can, and it's a whole different deal. You got to be patient a lot more than you did last night, and this falls more in my favor here than last night.
And so far, Ridley doing a nice job just up there in the top 6 or 7 drivers. And that's often not real good news for the guys in front of him, because Ridley charges through the pack so effectively in the second half of most of the races he runs.
Mark, I will have to mirror what you say, because Jody Ridley is a thinking race driver. He hasn't won all the races over the years by just being a hard charger. He saves his equipment. Usually, if he falls out, it's because of mechanical problems, not because of anything that he invokes on the racetrack.
Darrell Shelnut and Jimmy Cope, a couple of competitors from an excellent Bradenton race. They've been with the series throughout in 1995. Shelnut, the winner of round number 2. Cope was all over him in the early laps. A very exciting event there. That's a little bit further back in the pack, as a number of the real strong front runners had trouble in qualifying and were having to work their way up through the field. And that's not an easy thing to do here with the leaders already about a half a straightaway, if not half a racetrack ahead of this battle.
These drivers are going to have to hope for a pit stop or something to be able to move through the pack. It's hard to work traffic. It's easier to pass people in the pits. So should we see a pit stop by several of these drivers, they'll be able to advance forward.
Jimmy Cope downstairs on Darrell Shelnut. Can he make the pass work? He's got half a car length up in there. Can he get the fight off of turn number 2? The answer to that is emphatically yes. That is the fast way around this Birmingham Speedway, and he takes the position.
Don't take anything away from Darrell Shelnut, though. Shelnut is one of those thinking drivers also. He came from Hialeah, Florida, where he normally races, and has put himself in a good position this year. He says, I'm taking this Hooters Cup deal race at the time. Meanwhile, Bobby Gill is up front, right in front of Dick Anderson.
Now, these are two veteran drivers who know how to save their tires, but the issue of tire wear, as you heard Ridley mention, is indeed a factor. And if we see a caution coming up here soon, we might expect to see some of the front-running drivers, or some of those who are having trouble and are going backwards, come to the pits to maybe either change tires or to make some adjustments in their tire pressure. This is not something we've really seen in the series to this point, Bill. Most of the leaders have elected to stay out.
What we're seeing here is a nighttime race, though. Every time these guys practice in the afternoon, the track conditions change. Oftentimes, it's not necessarily the tire that's going away.
And we've got trouble on the speedway, as it looks like Burt Belter has spun right in front of the race leaders, and they had to be alert to keep from being swept into that.
Continuing on, it's not necessarily the tire that goes away, it's the chassis setup. Switching from the hot of the day when these guys practice and qualify to the cool of the evening that we're seeing here at Birmingham.
And Belter sitting there coming off of turn 2 on the backstretch. He triggered the first caution of the event. The only question is, did he have some help doing it? Here's a look again. Now, hard to tell from that angle, Bill.
Well, what was happening there is he looked up in his rearview mirror perhaps and saw the leaders coming up on him. He realized he was going to be lapped, and he probably stood on the brakes because he was almost into the side of a car running beside him. But that'd be a scary moment for Gill and the rest of the field as they flow by. But smartly, he stood on the brakes, kept it locked up, and ended up on the inside of the racetrack, out of the groove.
And there is a little bit of debris on the track, and this is one of those opportunities where drivers and crew chiefs are now making some decisions about whether to come to the pits. Mike Garvey, one of the strong runners in the series, has decided to come to pit road, and I think a couple of other cars have as well. So this could change the complexion of the second half of the race, as some of our leaders have stayed out. Stephanie's in the pits. What's the story?
Mark and Bill, we talked about how treacherous this track was going to be on tires. Everybody came in during this caution. A lot of cars are in here. They're either adjusting their tire pressure or they're just flat out changing tires altogether. But I'd say we probably got at least 6 or 7 cars in the pits right now changing tires. So we'll see if it helps them when they get back to racing under green.
Now, the lead cars, most of them did not elect to pit, so the running order as of that caution does not change. It's Gill, Anderson, Sanders, Keene, and Ridley. We've got the debris off the track. Belter's back in the field, and we are back under green once again on lap 32.
Well, let's not take anything away from the tires. When Mike Garvey was in the pits, Mike did not change a tire. What they were working on in the left rear corner, they were changing the tire pressure in the tire. The reason they were doing that, they had a tape measure out to measure the circumference of it. They want to adjust the stagger on the left rear to get him hooked up. Like I said, there's a big difference between daytime practice and nighttime racing.
Now, if you're followers of Winston Cup or Busch Grand National racing, you know all about stagger from the old days when the Goodyear bias-ply tires were the only tires in the series. Now, of course, they have gone to radials, but simply what happens is, Bill, as pressure builds up in the tire, the heat builds up, which builds up the pressure, which makes the tire grow. Exactly. And drivers, all of these guys at the front of the field are veterans. They understand what's going to happen to the tires at a racetrack. So this isn't like that is something they're not expecting, but it can grow differently than they expect, particularly based on how their car is set up to run.
That's right. If you heat the left rear up or the right rear up, it's going to grow. It's also going to scrub off a lot more. The tires they're racing here are Goodyear tires. They've been some 15 years in competition, 12 years of racing, and they have can go through 5 heat cycles. It's a very enduring tire and very forgiving tire, and I think Goodyear has brought a great tire to the Hooters series.
In fact, this tire is so good that after these late model drivers run it, they'll sometimes run it to the late model stock drivers at a reduced expense, and they'll run it for 50 laps, and then they'll sell it to another division. So these tires can end up on 3 or 4 or 5 different cars before their effective life is worn out. And look at who's moving up through the field. Mike Harmon for the first time, and cautions back out once again. I believe that's Sonny Velez, a caution on lap 39.
For the yellow on the racetrack, we'll be back with more here at Just a few moments from Birmingham, Alabama, in the Fairgrounds, and an exciting race that's going on in the Hooters Cup Series.
The Hooters Racing Series is brought to you by Red Dog Beer. Bold yet smooth, unusually easy to drink. You are your own dog.
And welcome back to Birmingham, Alabama, where Mike Harmon has made the best move through the pack of anybody so far. More cars came to the pits. Here's Stephanie.
Mark and Bill, a lot of the drivers were telling us before the race that this track was going to be awfully tough on tires. Apparently that's true. They're changing right side tires on the number 14 car of Jerry Simon. They got right side tires only, and he's back out.
Green flag is back out. So is Simons. He's back right in front of the leaders as we're back to speed. And Bobby Gill, who thought he had a clean racetrack going to the green, all of a sudden got somebody right in front of him. Nice reactions.
That's when your peripheral vision pays off. Bobby Gill has excellent peripheral vision. The 71 car as he heads off into turn number 3 now, followed by Dick Anderson. We need to address the fact that the pits here at this racetrack are between turns 3 and 4. The center area of the racetrack is occupied by a football field.
And it's a little bit unusual in that the race officials did not have a flagman at the end of the pits. Normally, they would have held that car so that very thing couldn't happen.
Harmon's on the charge now.
Mike Harmon storming through the field. And a very impressive performance by the Birmingham, Alabama driver who calls this facility his home track. He's certainly using it to good advantage so far, Bill.
Mark, every one of these races is an all-star race. It is really great that you were able to see a local driver compete with the drivers from out of town. Harmon is doing that right now.
Now, we're surmising that he has local knowledge, which has been an advantage. And so far in the other races, the local drivers have not really been at the front at the end, but Harmon is certainly turning that around. And he is storming through the field. It could be all the way up to the leaders here in just a moment. Before the race, Stephanie talked with him about local track knowledge.
Mike, you've run a lot of races here at Birmingham. You were the track champion here a couple of times. Does that give you an advantage heading into this race?
Well, this is a tricky oval, and I want to feel like it does. You have to really run each end of the track different, and I think it'll work into our hands.
I know Dick Anderson told me he had done some testing here because he said this is not the kind of track that you can just come to and run. You really got to know your way around it. Do you know? Tell me about this track, the idiosyncrasies of it.
Well, you have to run up in the middle of the track or above, and 90% of the racetracks you run right on the bottom through the corner. I tell the guys that come here, you got to run this track like running Darlington right up against a fence.
And just like any racetrack, though, if you get up too high, you can get yourself a Darlington-style stripe. We've only had a couple of those, but you look at all the black marks around this track, Bill, and this track is, the walls have been bruised a couple of times in the past.
This is a treacherous place. He races beside Dick Anderson and goes by the Dodge like the Dodge is standing still. I can't believe this. This guy is running on rails here at home track. It'll only be a few laps, and he'll be moving up.
Incredible, Bill. Incredible. He made that look incredibly easy. In fact, every pass since we trained our cameras on him, besides being hooked up on rails, he has been able to get right downstairs on the apron, and he hasn't wiggled once. We noticed Anderson a couple of moments ago coming off of turn 4 did.
This has to please everybody sitting in the grandstands. The hometown crowd has to go, Mike's whipping the boys from out of town. That's what he's doing right now. He hadn't gotten the lead, but he is well on his way.
Now, this changes Bobby Gill's strategy a little bit. He had a nice 6 or 7 car cushion over Anderson, and they both seemed content to be running right where they were, and all of a sudden you've got this Mike Harmon kid coming up on you, and he's all over the leader, and now Gill has to think about how long and whether he wants to remain in the lead. If he can, it doesn't look like Mike Harmon has any interest in sitting back in the second spot. Almost contact there between the two leaders. Harmon's already back in it, though, and we've got a car off the track. That's Nevin Jenkins.
Looks like there's a little fire inside the driver's compartment. Nevin Jenkins is parked down at the bottom of the racetrack. The race continues, and here goes the battle for the lead.
Harmon downstairs. He started 29th, but they will revert back to the last green flag lap as we have achieved halfway here at Birmingham Fairgrounds Speedway. Obviously, for the Nevin Jenkins car sitting off the track, he's out, he's fine.
A little flame beneath the car, some flame inside the car. Nevin Jenkins triggered his onboard fire extinguisher and climbs out. He's from Homosassa, Florida. And there goes the onboard extinguisher from, that's an external extinguisher they put on it. He's having his troubles this year with the Hooters Cup Series.
Yeah, he's a real big proponent of this series. Has been at all but the first event, but boy, he has certainly had his share of trouble so far.
He's been racing late models for 2 years, and he's involved in Futronics, which is a electronics manufacturer. They supply a lot of equipment to the folks at Radio Shack.
Now, this should be interesting here. Dick Anderson got blown away for second, and he said, that's enough. I'm coming to the pits. I need some new rubber on the right side. So he's going to give up third place on the speedway. He'll drop to the rear of the field for the restart, but he had to do something if he wanted to win this race. In fact, a number of drivers needed to do something because this Mike Harmon kid has really come storming to the front.
Right side tires going on the Dick Anderson car.
Now, Jenkins is out of the race. The problems he have are terminal, and Stephanie Boyd is caught up with him in the pits.
Nevin, you banged your car up in Huntsville, and now here you are again. What happened this time?
I just quit running, and then it caught on fire on me over there underneath. They were telling me it caught on fire. I don't know, it just died. We were starting to run pretty good.
Nevin has only driven late model sportsman type cars. He's had his problems in the Hooters Cup. He said, you know, the biggest thing I'm trying to do is try and travel with the big boys. And that's a big compliment for all these guys running in the top 5 here at the lap 54 of the 100-lap Hooters Super Cup Series.
And they've got his car into the pits, so race officials are satisfied. We can go back to racing. Tony Boswell has the green flag back out, and here we go again. And now the question is, will Mike Harmon go for the front right away? I think we already know the answer to that. Downstairs on Bobby Gill, both on colder tires, and it doesn't seem to matter, hot or cold. Mike Harmon has got the car to beat at this point.
Right at the bottom of the racetrack now, drives out of the corner, slides right in front of Bobby Gill, and he has taken the lead in front of the hometown crowd here, Birmingham, Alabama, the Fairgrounds. At this point, I think he might even get ready to walk away from everybody. He's in another time zone.
Oh, boy, Bobby Gill half sideways coming off a turn 2 this last time. So are his tires beginning to fail? If you've been with us throughout the telecast, you know that all the drivers said this surface is very abrasive on rubber. They've tried to save their tires, but they don't have a whole lot of choice up front if they want to win. They have to wear them out a little bit to get to Mike Harmon. Now, Dick Anderson a few moments ago came to the pits to get new rubber. What's the situation now, Stephanie?
Mark and Bill, I'm sure you've noticed Dick Anderson's been falling off the pace. I talked to his crew. They tell me his car's really pushing hard. I asked them if they were going to come in and try and make any adjustments, and they say, hey, it's too late. They just want to try and save what they got. So Dick Anderson falling off the pace, and he's just going to keep it that way.
Perhaps you're wondering what push is. Push is when you start to go into the corner, you turn the steering wheel, and the car starts to plow towards the outside retaining wall. So you have to put more steering input into it. That's what push is all about. We're at lap 59, and caution is on the racetrack.
We've got a report from race control that there is some debris on the front stretch, not for an incident itself. And we're a little bit surprised by how few multi-car incidents we've seen here. I think we expected to see a little bit more calamity on this racetrack than we've had. The drivers have, for the most part, pretty much minded their P's and Q's, and that is indeed the case. A little bit of debris right on the front straight. And we'll be back to get ourselves back up to speed in just a moment. Don't you dare go away from Birmingham, Alabama. And welcome back to the Naturally Fresh Classic. If you're not familiar with this line of products, Naturally Fresh is a great line of salad dressings and sauces. If you don't have it at your local supermarket, you race oil fans, tell your grocer to stock this product. Try it. You'll love it. Trust us.
It's great on any type of salad. If you'd like to try the product, go to one of the local Hooters restaurants. They have all the samples right there. Order it with any salad at a Hooters. You can sample it in their fine restaurant.
And tell them you heard it right here as well. Back to racing, where Mike Harmon isn't quite able to pull off to that great big advantage he had a little while ago over Bobby Gill, but he's still got a good 3 or 4 car length margin over second place. Gill's already got $500 for being the halfway leader from Short Track magazine, but he wants that big $5,000 payoff that awaits tonight's winner.
But Mike Harmon has accomplished exactly what he wanted to do, is get to the front. Now he realizes I've got to save my tires. He's raced a lot of laps over the years at this racetrack. He's smart. He'll take care of things. Jody Ridley battling a little further back with Mario Gosselin there. Really having a pretty good run here tonight as they draw up on Daniel Keene.
Yeah, but he's having some problems because earlier on he was running in the top 5 in the first 25 laps, and now he's slowly backpedaling through the field. He didn't have a particularly good night the night before in Huntsville, Alabama, having to use a provisional start and going a lap down early. Now Mario Gosselin,
car into the outside retaining wall.
and they stay green, just bounced off the fence. Got one of those Birmingham stripes.
I believe that was the Dodge. That was Dickie Anderson that went in there. Anderson said he had a push, and he just pushed right out in the outside retaining wall.
And a little bit of excess fuel being burned off there by Randy Fox in the 4 car as Ridley is trying to take one position back. But as we were saying a moment ago, Ridley didn't have a particularly good run in Huntsville. He's not having that great a run here tonight. Usually he's better the longer the stretch of racing is. He always sets his car up for the longer runs, but he's used to 200-lap races, and these are essentially, if you will, 100-lap sprint races.
Every time I talk to these drivers, they say that's what they like about this deal. 100 laps, straight out, belly to the ground. Caution here on lap 69. Who is it?
Bert Belter into the fence. He's had his share of problems so far tonight. This is the first time he's hit anything, though. It looks like he's hit something. And let's see if we can review what the problem is. Real simple. Car just gets out from under him.
That's called loose right there. The rear end sliding around. At that point, he started standing on the brakes. He almost took Dickie Anderson out and Mario Gosselin as they go by low to the inside.
We're almost 3/4 of the way into the race where Mike Harmon has led since lap 55, and everybody's got to be wondering if he's using up his car or not, because he had to use an awful lot of race car to get from all the way to 29th. Into the lead is Bobby Gills all over him now. Can he get by him?
Gills get close, but not close enough. On the restart, he looked strong.
Boy, Bobby Gill is such a wily veteran. He won the very first race of the series by taking his first lead with just 8 laps to go. He led the first half of this event, if you're just joining us, and when Mike Harmon blew by him, we had to wonder if Harmon was burning everything he had off the rubber on those tires. Right at the moment, after that brief challenge from Gill, it looks like Harmon has still got himself absolutely hooked up and running the very line he wants, up high against the fence.
Well, that's his racetrack. He has home racetrack advantage. Once again, we take a look at Jody Ridley a little further back in the pack, battling with Darrell Brown, the 58 car, and he loses the position there. He goes from 12th to 13th. There's Dickie Anderson right behind him now, but Ridley is backing up.
Now, Anderson has got new right-side rubber where a lot of these competitors do not. And despite the fact, as Stephanie Boyd said a little while ago, his car is pushing, having fresher right-side tires should allow him to move up through the pack. He may not get all the way to the front, but we expect him to pick cars off pretty regularly as we head down into the waning laps of this race.
I just can't believe Jody's not running any better than he is tonight here. He did okay last night in finishing down in Huntsville, Alabama, but tonight it looks like he's got the car in reverse.
Sitting back in the 3rd spot is Ronnie Sanders, and he has not been able to close up on 2nd place Gills. Right at the moment, it appears that we've got your basic nose-to-tail freight train.
Yellow flag waving here on lap 90. Sonny Velez has spun up in the 4th quarter. Stephanie Boyd is down in the pit area, and she has this report concerning pit stops.
Tony Walls, 3rd fastest qualifier, changed right side tires, went over, changed left side tires, and now he's headed back to the racetrack while they're still under caution.
Lady Luck continues to crowd on Tony Walls. Last night he was the fastest qualifier in Huntsville, Alabama. Tonight he was running 7th here at lap 90. He's had to back up through the field now with that pit stop.
And with new tires, we'll see how far forward he can come. But the man at the point continues to be Mike Harmon, with Gill, Sanders, John Crow, the rookie, 4th, and Mike Garvey also rallying from an early pit stop to sit in the 5th position. Then it's Niedeck and Walls. As of lap 90 was shown as 7th. Gosselin, Anderson, and Brown at the top 10. We'll be back with more after this. And welcome back to Birmingham Fairgrounds as we take a look back through the field of some of your other favorite drivers who are still running on the speedway. Very little attrition rate in this contest, although drivers like Sonny Velez have had their share of problems tonight. There's Tuffy Hester in the 77 car. Eddie King with the Scotty's sponsorship is sitting back there in car number 16. Daniel Keene, the winner in Huntsville the night before, sits in the middle of the field. Jeff Burkett, a rookie contender. is in the 74 car. Darrell Shelnut, the winner of round number 2, sits in the 7 machine, just outside the top 10.
All these drivers still running here at Birmingham, Alabama, but they're not in the position they'd like to be in. Mike Harmon occupies that position along with Bobby Gill. A little further up the field, the 6K car is Derek Kelly, the Walker Fence entry.
Unofficially, we still have 20 drivers on the lead lap, and that's what happens when you've got cautions spaced just about the way we have them. You could finish 15th and hardly get any points just because of the way this race has shaken out.
For the field as we advance forward, and we see Dick Anderson in the 92 car. He's trying to recover just for the points here tonight so he can kind of move up on some of that big point money that the folks at Hooters have posted for the series champion.
This is going to be a dash to the finish where Mike Harmon has really been in control of his own fate ever since lap 55 when he took the lead from Bobby Gill on a restart. But he's used up a lot of tire. The question is, can he get it all the way to the finish? Here's Stephanie with an update.
What's Mike saying about the car?
He says that it's still handling good. He's still in good shape.
Can he go the distance? Can he hold off Bobby Gill?
He says he feels like he can.
I understand you guys are a little bit concerned about a tire possibly going down, though.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you.
I understand you guys are a little bit concerned about a tire going down.
Mike seems to think that it's going to be okay. We don't have now probably 10 laps to go. It's pretty good shape. He's far enough out front right now. We're in pretty good shape.
Sounds like a confident crew chief, and with good reason. The only question being, do they have that tire going down? And if he does have it going down, he's sure playing it close to the vest.
He sure is, as he takes off once again when we go green flag racing. Mike Harmon is dialed in. He's been dialed in since line 1. The only bad thing that happened to him is he had to go to the back of the pack to start the race, but hey, he has been the show.
If you're just joining our telecast, both he and Mike Garvey were the 2 fastest qualifiers, but both were detected with qualifying infractions and booted back to the rear of the field. Both have since moved into the top 5, so whatever they had done wrong to their cars, it didn't seem to have that much of a factor, as both have moved smartly back toward the front.
We're from having good, strong runs here tonight. Of course, it looks like that Harmon will claim victory before the hometown crowd. Good race a little further back. Wayne Niedecken.
Well, I think, I'm going to just jump in on you there for a second, Bill. I think Bobby Gill may have something to say about that. He took the lead with just 10 laps to go in the very first round of this series, so maybe Bobby Gill's been playing a little possum here for the last few laps. Here is a great battle for 4th on the track. Mike Garvey and John Crow.
Crow has really been learning these cars well after coming out of very light automobiles, racing midgets on the West Coast and Legends cars here in the East. He has really become accustomed to high-powered 9-to-1 compression ratio V8s.
And Tony Walls also moving back to the front. There was definitely contact. Mario Gosling in the back just gave him ever so slight a nudge. Nobody gets out of shape. Everybody keeps going. That's what you can do here. You can rub a little fenders, and aside from getting your feathers ruffled a little bit, you keep right on going.
That's what everybody came to see, racing just like we're seeing back in the pack. And that is an exciting contest.
He gave him a pretty good nudge, too. He pretty much tore off his rear bumper, but we're under caution on the backstretch for Steve Christian, Norcross, Georgia driver, back underway and aimed in the right direction. That's a good sign. Very little damage to the cars tonight. Probably the least damaging race that we've seen so far in the 1995 Hooters Cup Trail.
You know, Steve Christian from Norcross, Georgia. His dad is his crew chief, Stuart Christian. And he started his racing career down at Lanier, Georgia. 3 years on asphalt. Before that, he raced over at Woodstock on dirt.
And Walls has got a little bit more of a tail than he might like to have. Steve Christian comes into this race with a car that's kind of patched together. Kind of reminds me of the Johnny Cash song about building a race car from different model years.
Yeah.
Stephanie Boyd talked with him before the race on what they had to do to get ready for tonight's event.
Well, we had to borrow parts of a fender from another car and part of our front fender and put it all back together. So we've got a piece of our car, a piece of someone else's car, but we're still here, so it's a good thing. It's all right.
Was the damage pretty much just cosmetic, or did you have any real damage to your car?
It was mostly cosmetic. We bent a rim and a control arm, but we've got it fixed back, so we should be okay for tonight. I hope so anyway. It's our first time here, and this is an interesting place.
Which is another way of saying he's had his hands full ever since he got here. He's back out the track doing okay now as we're back under green with just 6 laps to go. And caution, and the 112, Steve Christian. Oh, boy.
crushed and stuck beneath the guardrail there. He's done a lot of damage to that car.
He got pieces every which way. Some of those pieces are his pieces, and some of those pieces are pieces he borrowed. And he won't get that $5,000 tonight, that's for sure. Well, they're carting him off the racetrack. He's fine. He's out of the car, and he's with Stephanie. What's the story, Steph?
Pretty rough restart for you there, Steve. Tell us what happened.
Well, we tried to get under the 89 car get a jump on the restart, and either he didn't see us or we just, I don't know, just close race. We got down in the dirt. The car turned sideways and couldn't do anything with it. It's about what we got left here.
So Steve Christian carrying parts and pieces away from the guardrail.
Well, the damage to his car will take a little longer than just this morning to repair in the future. I imagine they're going to go to the frame shop for Steve Christian.
Yeah, they're going to need to get a whole lot of parts and pieces from a whole lot of folks, but the battle up front, there really isn't one, frankly, as Mike Harmon is pulled away from Bobby Gill. It is obvious that unless he does something real stupid, Harmon is going to win this race, but this is an excellent battle back on the speedway for fourth position.
Crowe's doing an excellent job getting around this racetrack. It's a big, wide facility, and it seems to suit his driving style. Now, Mike Garvey has been challenging him, but Crowe has been able to hold him at bay.
And right behind him is another battle for position for sixth between Walls and the 99 car of Wayne Nedeck, and he's the yellow and green car on the outside, so 2x2 racing. Noah's Ark, as some people have called it, heading down to these final couple of laps. This is the best battles on the speedway.
Well, they almost got together getting into the first quarter. As they move down the back straightaway, Crowe has a 2-car length advantage over Garvey. Like we said, this is a race a little further back, primarily for fourth on back. But Crowe is doing a phenomenal job. He's got that Wayne Colley engine really wound up here. And, of course, Robert Hamke is the man that built the chassis on that car. Garvey is back to challenge him once again. Crowe on the high side. Obviously, he talked to Mike Harmon about driving around this facility.
Well, the last thing he's thinking about right now is any advice he's gotten. He's looking out to his side right now, and he's got an eyeful of Mike Garvey, who has taken it all the way down to the grass, trying to get the bike downstairs to gain the position. Just a little bit loose there, and that braking attraction allows Crowe clean racetrack to get back in front. And Garvey's got to look out to his rearview mirror to make sure Tony Walls doesn't overtake him as we are heading down now to the closing laps. In fact, the white flag lap as Mike Harmon continues to set the pace out front. Gill sits in second by himself. Third is Ronnie Sanders. So we'll look at this battle for fourth on the track.
Garvey's down to the inside of John Crowe. Crowe is tempering his career here tonight. He's learning a lot, even though it's not for the win. It is for position.
And speaking of win, from back to front, Mike Harmon has showed the series regulars a thing or two about getting around this track, and John Crowe wins the battle for fourth. And I think Garvey did get fifth by a whisker over Tony Walls. But the story is the local driver from Birmingham, Alabama, Mike Harmon, who has driven to victory, the fourth different winner in as many races of Hooters competition, 1995. It wasn't much of a battle after mid-race up front, but an excellent battle, Bill, throughout the rest of the field.
Well, it was a great battle to see this guy come from the back of the field to the front. Even though there was no bonus posted tonight, the fans got their money's worth.
And we will come back to talk with the winner, who taught the Turin boys a thing or two about racing tonight. Don't go away. His comments are next. Except for Ricky Sanders and Steve Christian, comparatively little body damage here at the Fairgrounds Raceway as Mike Harmon has gone from back to front for victory. Stephanie Boyd is trackside with tonight's winner.
Mike Harmon obviously here trying to get the correct hats on. Man, what a run. Started at the back of the field. Tell us how you made it all the way up.
Well, I tell you, bad partners, Babbitt Truck Brokers, Don and David Drummond, Norm Bates gave me one awesome race car. I wasn't going to let them down. We got maybe a judgment call on qualifying. I had a point to prove. I said, boys, we're going to hold our head up and win this race from the rear.
Were you worried at all about Bobby Gill there in the last few laps?
No, I wasn't. We had them beat tonight. There wasn't nobody run with this 24 car tonight.
I think it pretty well says it. I can't add anything to that as we look at the rest of the finish order for tonight's race. Good runs for a number of drivers, and also some so-so runs for some series regulars like Daniel Keene and Randy Fox as we look at the rest of the finishing order.
Look at Darrell Sheldon at 16th tonight. He's normally in the top 3. Burkett finishing 17th.
Some of the other drivers who found this track all they could handle and then some tonight. Belter spun a couple of times, as did Velez. Christian, of course, a crash. some of these other drivers here. Jimmy Cope blew a motor very early on. That hurts his championship chances, and those are some other drivers who had more than their share of problems tonight. So how does this affect the series points? Well, Mike Garvey with the top 5 finish takes over the series points lead, but it's still anybody's race as we're still very early in the 20-race campaign for the Hooters Cup cars for 1995. And here's a look at some of the races headed your way.
Looks like Gainesville, Georgia is going to be a hot bed of racing at Lanier Raceway on June the 17th. But visit one of these races when it comes near a facility in your hometown.
For Stephanie Boyd and Bill Hennessy, I'm Mark Allen. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time.
The Hooters Racing Series is brought to you by Hooters, delightfully tacky yet unrefined. By Jackaroo Barbecue Sauce, the big bold taste from down under. By Naturally Fresh Salad Dressings, pour on the freshness. And by Goodyear, #1 in racing, #1 in tires. A promotional fee has been provided by Team Simpson Racing. To order your new 1995 Team Simpson catalog, call 1-800-71-RACING.